Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Šlepikaité. I come from Vilnius, from Lithuania, and I represent organization Architektūros fondas. And today I would like to present our program, which we suggested for future architecture platform, Building Narratives. As a new member of a future architecture platform, we are starting this year. It's the first year for us when we will start working with creatives from the future architecture fellows. So we feel really excited and we really look forward. But before starting talking about building narratives, I would like to introduce a little bit the organization itself and to talk a little bit about the principles, how we work. So Architektūros fondas is a voluntary-based, not-for-profit and non-governmental organization working in fields of architecture, education and culture. And organization functions as a platform for bottom-up initiatives. That's something important when we talk about the methods, how we work. So organization was founded in 2004, and during these several, 15 years, the organization transformed and developed. And very important moment was in 2010, when the group of young architects and architecture students decided to do something to make the architecture quality better in Lithuania. So there were many initiatives started that came from bottom up from the architecture community. And the first project was Architecture Talk series. Later on it was followed by the publications that were published online. Later on we had architecture tours in Vilnius and in other cities in Lithuania. We also launched the architecture education program for children, which later on developed into standalone project traveling architecture workshops. We had some community projects like this, for example, which was set up in the house in a sleeping district, and the aim of this project was to find architects' connection with the community living in this area. In 2015 we started Open House Vilnius Festival, and Architektūros fondas was also the producer of Lithuanian Pavilions in Venice Biennial in 2016. Together with Latvian and Estonian curators, we presented Baltic Pavilion. And in 2018, we presented the Swamp Pavilion in Venice Biennial. So coming back to building narratives, we suggested this topic for future architecture platform for 2020 because we see this topic as an experiment to investigate the relationship between architecture and story surrounding it. We wish it's quite an open platform, building narratives, and it invites to experiment. And we wish to explore and test the power of narration over the architecture and vice versa, and to discover new tools and methods. How can we communicate architecture to the public, and what other tools can use. This diagram is supposed to show that we look at the building narratives as a platform which also could help us to find some links among our initiatives and different projects that we run. And we would like to suggest a few projects that we see as having most potential to host future architecture creatives. So I would like to go into detail a little bit more into each of these projects. So first one is the architecture critique platform Aikštėje, which could be translated in the square. This platform was founded in 2014, and at the very beginning it was just a podcast on architecture and urban and public spaces. And last year we launched the open call for text and invited students and young professionals to write on building narratives topic. And we also commissioned invited writers, professionals to write. And these texts that are written and submitted for the open call, they are now going to be spread in public media to reach the wider audience, and also there will be the publication which will summarize the result. Also in 2020 we are going to have Open House Vilnius weekend. We started this project in 2015, and Open House is the worldwide concept. There are over 40 cities all around the world doing open house weekends. Idea of this festival is very simple, that we have one weekend in the city when we open buildings and we let the public to go in for free, and we have guided tours. So this year we are going to open 70 buildings in Vilnius, and we expect to have over 40,000 visits in the buildings, and everything is again run by the volunteers. So we have a really huge crowd of volunteers that guide the tours in the buildings during the weekend. This is the moment from the last year. So talking about architecture during the tours is like literally telling the stories of the buildings, but during these few years of open house, we have come up with the concept of artistic narrative. And this concept is about trying to look at the buildings and their stories from the different perspective, and maybe to tell their story not by words, but also to look for other tools to explain the architecture. So we invited a few artists. These are from different years, but mostly they were performative artists. But here we would see as an open space for creatives from Future Architecture platform to try to interpret architecture in different ways and to tell the story of the building in a different way. Also in 2020, we are going to have traveling architecture workshops. That's the project started in 2013. And the idea of this project is that we wish to spread the message that our built environment is important, and to spread this message to the communities that are not in the capital. This project is aiming communities in the districts of Lithuania. So the idea is that groups of volunteers during the summer holidays, when children are not having the school and lessons, the groups of volunteers, they go to the towns and villages in Lithuania and they run 5-day workshops for children. During this workshop, they actually investigate the location together with children. Children tell their stories, what they do, how do they live in this area, what spaces do they use. And after this playful research, together with volunteers, they think about the idea what they could implement in this public space. So they design the project and they really make it, they really implement it. And usually it happens that during this implementation of the project, all the community is connected, and they join the effort to build some ideas that children have thought about. So finally we have the result after 5 days, and these results are presented to the community. And also, Yes, Architektūros fondas has never had a space to work. Like we never own any space for our activities, and the primary concept was that we try to use existing infrastructures in the city as much as possible. But last year we decided to join this collective initiative that was initiated by the different cultural organizations. This initiative is about trying to revive this building, which used to be the school, which is in a very interesting urban context. There is neighborhood around it, the housing block designed in 19th century, and there is the context of former prison and so on. And this area is actually very close to the city center. However, it always feels like it's somewhere in the outskirts. So the idea of this this initiative is to revive this building through doing some common activities with different cultural organizations, and to create this new cultural center, Sodas 2123, which could be translated Garden 2123. Yes, and we could see, we actually could see this case maybe for creatives as a case study for your research. And here's the calendar of our activities, what we are going to do this year. So we can see that Architecture Critic platform is running from the spring all year round, and experiments we start in April as well. Open House Vilnius weekend is happening on April 25th, 27th, 26th, and traveling architecture workshops is taking place during the summer from June to August. So yes, thank you very much, and we invite you to build the narratives together.